This video is for you if the dominant emotion in your life is anxiety and you live with a sense of pending doom and catastrophe. Hey everyone, welcome to Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership. I'm Maika, I'm a psychologist, and one of the main things I talk about on this channel is how we unconsciously recreate unpleasant emotional and mental states and how to step out of that. I call this the repetition compulsion or emotional addiction. And today I want to discuss the emotional addiction to anxiety, what we do to keep ourselves in anxiety in our thoughts and actions, and how to change that. Emotional addiction to anxiety is connected to a sense of being very violable, easy to break or damage. The image someone has who has a lot of anxiety of themselves is that they are weak, susceptible to harm, and that they need a lot of protection. Added to that is that the world is perceived as a lot more dangerous than it actually is, or in ways that it's not. The likelihood of catastrophes, illnesses, disasters, and crimes feels a lot bigger than it actually is. The combination of these two mindsets, the self-concept of being very easy to damage, living in a world full of dangers that could strike and cause harm at any moment, leads to a lot of anxiety that takes up so much space inside that there is hardly any room for other emotions left. It's a feeling of something bad that's just about to happen without any factual evidence for that. This anxiety can revolve around different scenarios. Very common are anxieties about accidents, getting into an accident yourself, or a loved one getting into an accident, going broke and losing all of your material assets, getting canceled, losing your social status, approval, or acceptance from other people, a certain group, or an individual, and anxiety about getting an illness, physical or mental. Now, the thing that is so difficult about patterns of emotional addiction is that something seems to draw us into this emotion again and again, the emotion that we're so accustomed to feeling predominantly. Our mind keeps oscillating back into it. It's our mind's habitual place to be, even if it's painful and uncomfortable. But this is not something that just happens to us. We create this emotion in us unconsciously. We recreate the circumstances that trigger the emotion we're addicted to without being aware of it. This is what feels right to us. This is what it feels like to be ourselves. To step out of an emotional addiction to anxiety, we need to change what feels natural to us. We need to change the sense that we are super easy to damage and that catastrophe is just about to strike. Here are 7 ways you can do that. Number 1, create a mental image of yourself as a strong, resilient, and healthy person. Instead of looking for proof and affirmation for your frailty and weakness, look for signs of your strength and how good you are at coping healthily. Understand where this idea that you're small, weak, and in need of extra protection came from. Most likely it originated in your childhood, either because your primary caregivers saw you in that light or because they saw themselves that way and you took it on from them. Remind yourself that this is and always has been just a notion without any facts to back it up. Remind yourself of all the things that show, speak for, and demonstrate your robustness, strength, and sturdiness, your toughness. And even if you are a bit more sensitive than others, envision yourself using that to your advantage. Sensitive people aren't weak. Sensitivity is not a weakness. It can be an amazing source of power and strength. And part of this inner work of how we see ourselves is learning to talk to our anxious inner parts in a soothing way. You can do this by remembering a situation that caused you anxiety as a child, and then envision yourself as the adult you're now walking into that situation, hugging that child, your past self, and saying something like, "You're safe now, I'm here," or whatever else you would have found soothing in that moment and would have wished that some adult would have said to you. The second major thing you can work on is changing your image of the world and its danger potential. Adapt your estimates of how likely catastrophes are to their actual numbers. And instead of consuming media that addresses the things you worry about, catastrophes, crime, disasters, natural disasters, future doom days, switch into media that nurtures a feeling of being safe in you. The more you can build these two new ways of seeing, for one, yourself, and then also the potential of danger in the world, the less you will trigger anxiety in your body and mind. With practice, it'll feel more natural to feel safe and realistically optimistic. Practice number 3 for overcoming emotional addiction to anxiety is to slowly let go of and stop anything you do to protect yourself that's actually not necessary. These protective measures, or sometimes they're called safety behavior, come from the logic of and this pattern of anxiety. And they feed your sense of being damageable and of the world being an excessively dangerous place. So it's not enough to change our mindset around what we're like, what the world is like. We also have to act from the logic of those mindsets and not from the logic of anxiety. Otherwise, it's like telling someone, "Yeah, I trust you," but then never actually relying on them in a way that would show that we actually do trust them and we're not just saying it. So this is something you can practice, that if there's something you do to protect yourself from your anxiety, to slowly step away from that and do it less and less, so that you are actually acting from the mindset of feeling resilient and safe in situations that are safe. So for example, if you're afraid of being alone at home, you may be protecting yourself from that perceived danger by always having someone be there with you. Or if that's not possible, by visiting friends and family. And a way of building a sense of safety and overcoming your emotional addiction to that anxiety is by not relying on other people having to be there when you're at home. Or if you're afraid of losing your money and material assets, a common protective measure is to hardly ever spend any money, or to take on a lot of effort just to save a few cents. When you relax more about how you save and spend, you can let go of your emotional addiction to anxiety connected to money and having basic food and shelter. Exercise number 4 for overcoming emotional addiction to anxiety is to stop checking compulsively if everything is okay. When we check if everything's all right, we are again acting from the logic of the anxiety, and we are strengthening our emotional addiction to anxiety because we believe the anxiety. We believe that there's something to it and that we need to check if everything's okay. This could mean compulsively checking in and seeking reassurance from your loved ones that everything is all right between you, that you are okay the way that you are, that what you did isn't such a big deal, or checking in with them to see if they are okay. It could also mean visiting your physician unnecessarily. Anything you do to scan for signs of danger in your body or your surroundings, wanting to reassure yourself that everything is okay. And now you might think, but Maika, this is what gives me comfort. This is what calms me down and helps me keep my anxiety in check. Why do you want me to stop doing what comforts me? And to that, I want to say, imagine you didn't need that comfort anymore. Imagine you didn't need to go onto that roller coaster so many times a day. Imagine you could live from a place of feeling safe and secure. So practice relaxing your guard. Notice how nothing bad happens, how you're safe. The more you practice, the more a sense of safety will feel natural to you. Exercise number 5, use breathing, grounding, and relaxation techniques to calm down your mind and nervous system. A nervous system that has a calm baseline is less likely and further away from jumping into a mode of anxiety, being on high alert and tense. Also, this helps you deal with anxiety that is triggered unconsciously by triggers your body picks up in the environment that were somehow wired with danger in your past and that aren't necessarily coming from your core beliefs or your mindset, but from the way that your brain was programmed by what happened to you. Another thing you can do, this is now number 6, is to involve your family and friends, the ones that you feel close to and trust, to talk to them and explain to them that you want to let go of your emotional addiction to anxiety and that they can support you in that by softly, gently, and slowly encouraging you and supporting you in building more independence from them. You can explain that you want to stop relying excessively on their strength, reassurance, and protection, that you want to learn how to do things on your own and feel safe at the same time. And the 7th and final suggestion of how you can practice overcoming your emotional addiction to anxiety is to start doing things you've been avoiding because of your anxiety. I suggest you do this after you've done some of the other things I discussed for a while. Then start with something that is easier and work yourself up to harder situations from there. Notice how rewarding it is to reclaim your life like this and to be able to do things again that you weren't able to do before because of your anxiety. It does take work to change patterns of emotional addiction that formed over years, but it is possible. It's possible to build a new core emotion and feeling for your life that doesn't have to be anxiety. That's just an unnecessary and painful emotional addiction. I wish you all the best for that. If you'd like to reflect more on this, check out my anxiety playlist. And if you'd like to receive more video suggestions from this channel, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Consider subscribing also to my weekly self-leadership newsletter. The link for that is in the description box. Till next time, take care. And remember, what feels natural to you may be based on an emotional addiction and not on what's best for you. And this is something you can change.